All right, guys. Right now, I am going to recap my trades from earlier today. It is Tuesday, April 23rd, and honestly, today was a little bit rough for me, just because it was one of those days where you kind of, you have a really strong expectation for the market, and you just don't time it quite right. So that happened quite a bit today. That can be super frustrating. I'm sure if you've been trading for a while or even for not a while, you've probably experienced it. But anyway, let's get to it. So this morning in the pre-market, you could just see a lot of chops, so not much going on at all. When the market finally opens at 7:30 at my time here, so it was breaking above this resistance level right here. You can see it kind of gave us this double top up there. And then I was looking for a continuation. This entry, honestly, it was not the best. It was too early. I should have waited for it to pull back, and I knew that, but I took it anyway. A little bit of FOMO creeped in, right? It's like, okay, well, just in case, like, I don't want to miss it either. So I went ahead and took it here. Obviously, it failed. I was able to re-enter up here, but pretty conservative. You can see this move spiked pretty good. I was only taking it up to a retest of this pivot here. I did have a bit of a higher expectation, but just playing it safe, the market had just opened. Some kind of news or something was released right here, so it was a little bit sporadic, and I just didn't want to get caught in it. So this trade took me right back to break even. The market did move higher. After this strong move here, I was waiting for it to come back and retest this prior pivot, which it did right here. It also lined up with the outer band, so this actually would have been a good trade right here at the outer band. The market is making higher highs, higher lows. There's an overall expectation to the upside, so when it hits the outer band in the opposite direction, sometimes there can be a good trade there. Of course, you got to know what you're looking for, and there has to be other things going on that back that up. I wouldn't just blindly trade the outer band, but this was something that I was watching at that point. And it reacted off of here, and it came back up above this prior pivot level here. I went ahead and entered. This entry was late. I mean, I could have taken it down here. I wanted to see it clear up above this pivot point again here, which it did. Took a nice cool 10 points, pretty much a straight shot there. Again, I was expecting the market to move higher, but 10 points is pretty good. So I went ahead and just took that here. And I was also going to show you on this video, so I tend to watch the NASDAQ alongside the ES. I don't typically trade the NASDAQ, but I have realized over the past few years that it's just a little bit ahead of the ES in terms of what's going to happen. So I will watch the NASDAQ the same way I watch the ES, meaning, I'll watch those support and resistance areas. I'll watch the pivot points that have or haven't been retested. I'll watch trend lines. I'll watch, the bands and the mid bands and the 20 SMA. So all the same kind of things. But I like to see the NASDAQ holding the same idea as the ES. And sometimes, if I'm expecting a pullback over here on the ES and I'm looking at the NASDAQ and I'm like, okay, well, I think actually this pullback hasn't completed yet, then a lot of times that can keep me from getting into an ES trade too early. And just to time it a little bit better. So I go back and forth a lot between these. Like I said, I don't typically trade the NASDAQ, but I just watch it as support and backup for the ES. So like this trade here, where I just took it up to that prior pivot. And then this one here where I took it for the 10 points. You can see that was, let's see, right about 8 a.m. So that was here. And this move right here to the upside was pretty much happening the same as this move right here. So when this one hit that prior high, I was like, okay, well, we could get a move back down from here. And you can see there was no prior high on the ES, at least for this session. So there was nothing really as resistance here, but I knew there was a little bit of resistance, or what could be resistance, on the NASDAQ right here. So that was another reason that I went ahead and just locked in those 10 points. When the market pulled back, I did still have that expectation for it to move higher. I'll zoom in a little bit right here and show you what I was watching. So at this point, we definitely have a resistance area here. You can see it butts up against there quite a few times. breaks above it, but there's no continuation higher. So when it comes back beneath it, you got to be cautious here, because if shorts were going to come into the market, they could do that here. But once it cleared back up above the mid-band and kind of up into the support, I jumped on another long. It might have been a little bit early, but I was okay with this loss, and it kind of, lined up with what I was looking for, and I was willing to take the risk on that one. Just didn't work out, pulled back a little bit deeper. Again, I typically only trade with a 2 to 3, usually around 3-point stop, give or take. I just, at this point, I've just learned that that's what works better for me. I like to control my risk. And I like to choose places where the market should continue from, so I don't need to put a whole lot of risk on trades, and that's just what works for me. So here, after it tried to make another attempt lower, just didn't happen, cleared up above it again. I did re-enter here with a little bit bigger of size. This trade was a little bit uncomfortable to hold. You can see it just kind of bounced above this resistance level here. Not a lot going on, and it took a while. I mean, I entered that trade at 8, and it didn't really move to my target until almost 8:30. At this point, I'll be honest, I was on the road, and I was headed to a meeting, so I couldn't really manage it the way I had wanted to, which is another reason that I went ahead and took the 10 points here. Again, I was expecting about 25 points out of this trade. I really wanted to hold it, but given the situation that I couldn't manage it appropriately and it was already at 10 points, I just figured it was best to take it. So that's what happened there. That is kind of hard, at least for me. It's hard to have such a strong expectation in a trade and then you have to bail early. Either you're scared, or your confidence starts to lag, or you have other things going on, and then it just continues to move higher or lower, whichever direction you're trading. That can be kind of difficult, but a win's a win, and you got to learn to stack the wins, because they definitely all add up. So that was here. You can see the market did continue higher. At this point, I was still trying to watch it a little bit. And this entry here, it's not great. I mean, it was coming off of an outer band. I was expecting a retest of this new resistance area up here, which eventually did happen. It just pulled back deeper first, and this trade, honestly, it was a little bit emotional, right? Because I didn't catch the full move of this, which I had already planned for, so I was already upset about that. And I just, I wanted to catch the rest of that move, and it just didn't work out. So that was the last trade I took for the morning. I was tied up in other obligations until a little bit later in the session. I came back here, and you can see the market really hasn't done a lot. Like, it was pretty choppy all through this. It is making higher highs and higher lows, so it is directional. It's just really grindy, and it's taking a lot of time to do anything. Not really the ideal market to be trading. I did still have that expectation for it to move higher. Let's see, that was somewhere up in here. And really what I was watching too was I had drawn this pitchfork on here, and it was respecting it pretty well. You can see right along in here, it grabs it really nicely right here, right here, right here, right here. And the top up there lined up with my overall expectation to the upside. There was a pivot level here, which lined up right with it. You can see right here. And then ultimately, I was expecting it to go higher up to this level here that hadn't been retested yet. That didn't happen today, so maybe tomorrow we'll see. Regardless, the market did eventually get to that upper median line right here. Unfortunately, I just didn't time it so great, and I wasn't really a part of it when it got there. It actually reached right after the market closed. And if you guys are familiar with Top Step, you have to be out of your positions by 2:07 my time on Mountain Time. So I got out prior to that right here. It was still a profitable day. I had 10 total trades, 4 wins, 5 losses, 1 break even, ended with 12 points. I was trading between 2 and 5 contracts today. I need to put that on there, but ended with just over $2,100. So, not fantastic, but pretty good. I did not close at my high today. You can see this right here was my high P&L. and I closed about $1,000 lower than that. So still profitable. You know, you're never going to hit it 100%. You're never going to get every trade pivot to pivot. It's just not realistic. So in this industry, you really have to learn to stack your wins and go from there. So let me know if you guys have any questions or you want me to deep dive into anything more specific.